Hey there, YouTube. It is meteorologist Will Haney here. We are live streaming some of our winter storm coverage that is going to be ongoing really into the overnight and really throughout the early part of tomorrow as well. So I'm going to hop in here and we're going to talk through some of what we're seeing out there. I will say we are also live on Facebook right now. I am not, but Colin Roos, our reporter, is out live in the field at the Galesburg rest area, giving a little bit of an update on some of the conditions he's seeing. It does look rather snowy out there, so just something to be mindful of. If you are going to be out tonight, it is pretty treacherous from all reports I've heard. Some very snowy, very slick roadways out there. Fortunately, though, as I'll show you here in just a few minutes, not too many major crashes being reported on any of our major interstates, at least last I checked. So that is definitely a good sign. Hopefully folks heeding the warning and kind of hunkering down at home and kind of waiting things out. So without further ado, let me make that a little bigger. You can see the snow, it's far from over. There is a little bit of a break that some of us are seeing, which we'll jump into in just a second. But there is still more off to the southwest. It was a decent uptick that we saw within the last, I would say, 3 to 4 hours. And you can see some of those darker blues. This is a 6-hour loop. So you can kind of see that steadier, heavier, slightly heavier snow that worked its way in by late afternoon and this evening. Some snowfall rates probably pushing about an inch or so per hour at times. So our winter storm warning, this was issued yesterday. It was a winter storm watch, then upgraded to a warning. It continues through 10 a.m. tomorrow for most of us. The only exception to that is going to be counties along the Michigan-Indiana line. Technically, it goes through 7 p.m. I wouldn't be shocked if Branch County perhaps is canceled a little bit earlier than that. I also wouldn't be shocked if St. Joseph County is canceled a little bit earlier than that. But we'll just kind of see how conditions are tomorrow. Where I think we will still have some winter storm conditions is Berrien and Cass County, and we'll explain why here in just a second. This is a look at live Doppler radar, and this is more of a localized view, obviously, than that first satellite radar view that I was showing. And you can see a little bit of a lightening up of some of the snow within the last, I would say, hour or so. A little closer to Kalamazoo, but there is still, like I said, plenty more on the way. One thing I've not seen much of is any thunder snow in our near vicinity. There was some reports of thunder snow. If you have followed my Facebook page, there were some reports of that a little earlier this evening, or earlier this afternoon, rather, down in central Illinois. A pretty impressive little cluster of some thunder snow. And so that potential is there for a very, very isolated rumble or two of thunder late tonight into early tomorrow as the area of low pressure swings right on through lower Michigan. However, that chance, I would say, is pretty low. So don't get too excited if you're Jim Cantor, if you know that famous viral clip from the Weather Channel where he gets all amped because of the thunder snow. But in case you haven't seen some of what our projections were for this event, this is a storm total, but generally expecting as much as about 6 to 12 inches. I would say most of us are going to average right around 8 inches or so from this event, but some of the higher end totals are most likely to be found in that area of pink that you see there. But we're kind of splitting hairs here, to be honest. The difference between a 6, 7, 8 inch snowfall, even 6, 7, 8, 9 inch snowfall is fairly minimal when it comes to the impacts. So we're just looking to steady snow lingering pretty much all night through the early part of tomorrow. So let's start off our hour by hour here and just show you kind of what we're seeing. Again, system, area-wide snow the next several hours. We could even see a slight uptick yet again, kind of multiple like little pushes of slightly heavier snow kind of off and on, I would say the next several hours. It will be a steadier snow into the overnight. Notice our temperatures, though. They'll hold right around freezing. So that's going to keep things on the wetter side as far as snowfall. It also means the salt products are going to be doing their jobs. It's just that the snow is falling at a rate where the salt might not be able to keep up entirely, as we're seeing right now. We'll show you here in just a second. But once the snow stops, my point is that's the salt and some of the treatments they've been putting down on the roads should be able to work. It's do its job. We'll put it that way. By around 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, the system snow is starting to kind of weaken. You can kind of see that pivot there. That is, again, that low pressure kind of exiting our area. On the backside of that low, wind turns northwest, as it often does. And with that, we're going to start to usher in some slightly colder air in the lowest few thousand feet of the atmosphere. And so we'll get this kind of transition to some lake effect snow showers on the back end, mainly confined to some of our lakeshore counties. But this definitely has still my attention into the afternoon. Some heavier bursts of lake effect are still going to be possible. You can kind of see those darker blues. I don't think we're going to see necessarily one dominant band. I think it's just going to be some intermittent little like lake effect snow showers, but some of those could have enough intensity where we could see some pretty poor visibility. And note the timestamp there, that's 5 o'clock tomorrow. Most of that I think should be wrapping up after about 8-9 p.m. as ridging starts to move in. And our inversions. Anyways, so the ingredients for that lake effect starts to kind of weaken somewhat by late tomorrow night. Now, that being said, I wouldn't be shocked if we possibly get at the very least, winter weather advisory extended for some of our lakeshore counties. So again, that winter storm warning, if you were with us at the start of this video, it goes through 10 a.m. tomorrow for most of us. I wouldn't be surprised if the National Weather Service maybe extends possibly even the warning, but more than likely, as I see it, I could see them doing like a winter weather advisory, maybe along some of the lakeshore, possibly even Kalamazoo County as well. That would extend a little bit later in the day. So again, about a 6 to 12-inch storm total between the system snow and the lake effect in the mix there. But when we talk about the lake effect on the back end of the system, so again, just a steady snow pretty much all night through about daybreak tomorrow. Then on the back end of the system between noon and about 8 p.m. tomorrow, that area of darker blue is what I would call moderate impacts from winter weather. So we should start to see some improvement, but we'll kind of see maybe some snow-covered roads, some poor visibility kind of linger in that area of darker blue. And then even that lighter shade of blue, you'll probably still see some intermittent lake effect snow showers, especially I would say near Kalamazoo or say Three Rivers, possibly down even into Sturgis. I just don't think it'll be quite as bad as some of our lakeshore counties. That's kind of what I'm picking up on here with that graphic. If the kiddos are looking to play outside tomorrow, it will be pretty windy, but nothing like what we saw just a couple days ago. Not those really intense gales. I think that was on, what was that, Wednesday and Thursday, right, for Thanksgiving. It'll be probably northwest winds about 10 to 15, possibly 20 miles an hour, with gusts up to maybe 30. So when you factor that in, it will be feeling a little colder. We'll be feeling like the middle to upper 20s, but not as cold as it certainly could be behind a system like this with all the fresh snow. So, it's not dangerous cold or anything like that. The kiddos, as long as they're dressed up with multiple layers and a good waterproof shell, they should be just fine playing in the snow for a good little bit before they have to warm up with some hot chocolate. And honestly, this is some great snow to play in because it's going to be kind of that wetter variety. So great packing snow for snowball fights and also for making frosty in the front lawn. Temperatures are going to remain very below average, really, the next 7 to 10 days. All signs point to a colder than average temperature pattern really sticking around the next several weeks. And as you might imagine, that is conducive for more snow. So the fresh blanket of snow that we saw, not only really Thanksgiving, but also that we're going to add on to this weekend, it's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. Sometimes this point in the season, it's still early-ish in the winter season. So sometimes, these late November, early December snows, we can get a decent amount, but then it melts. We warm up and it's all melted within a few days. That is not going to be the case. It's going to stick around. Additionally, we have a few other disturbances that we're going to have to keep an eye on this week. The first one, I think, after the system/lake effect tomorrow is going to be Monday late in the day into early Tuesday. And then another one sometime in the late Wednesday, early Thursday timeframe. Notice how my confidence or my probabilities in snow are relatively low right now. That's because those systems, they're like a lot weaker little disturbances than what we're seeing right now. So they're at the 3 to 5 day range. They're not always modeled very well. So I would say medium confidence that we'll see a few additional rounds of lighter accumulations with those. As I see it now, maybe like 1 to 3, maybe Monday into Tuesday, and then another maybe 1 to 3 Wednesday into Thursday. But yeah, the Tuesday morning commute, we'll have to watch for maybe some slick roadways because it could be just enough where, you might get a little bit of a coating and then possibly I would say late Wednesday into Thursday as well would be another time frame to watch. And then even into next weekend, it looks like things could get a little dicey. So anyways, we'll keep you updated on that. But I want to circle back to, again, our radar here, and we'll just make sure we're not seeing any reports of thundersnow out there. But I also am going to pull up the mDrive My Drive map and give you guys a look at some of the live conditions that are going on right now. As I get a little bit laggy, that was my fear. Hopefully I'm still coming through. Sometimes our computer, when I pull up the My Drive map, there's a lot going on between our streaming software and then the My Drive map where I get a little bit laggy. So I might not be able to do this too long. Let me try. I'm going to try this in a different window and see if that makes any difference. Probably not. The computer hates me right now. It's like, you're working me too hard. So I'm not seeing any comments, by the way. I know I'm streaming this just to YouTube, by the way, because Colin Roos, our reporter, he is out live in the field. He was live on Facebook when I was about to do this, so I didn't know if that would mess anything up. But let me see if this will let me do this. All right. Let's see. So if you've never used it before, this is a really great resource. This is called the My Drive map from MDOT. A lot of great little things you can toggle off and on up here. Right now I have it set to just the road cams, but I'll also turn on the speeds of the roads, and they have been largely orange tonight, or red, which is not surprising. So just kind of slow moving traffic. Had a few folks on my Facebook tell me that they were driving along 94 and it was very hard to see the driving lanes, as you will see in just a second. But they said for the most part, people were driving the way they should be. That's actually a slight improvement at I-94 and Westnedge, the fact I can see any pavement. Let me see if I can make this a little bigger for you all. So that's, believe it or not, a slight improvement from when I was looking a little earlier. So that is I-94 near the Westnedge exit. Here's I-94 near Miller Road. But largely, when I was looking around here a little earlier, and these cameras at night are kind of a guessing game sometimes, but this is, just entering into Allegan County, north part of Kalamazoo County along 131. Definitely doesn't look great, but I think the plows were able to catch up a little bit because we saw a little bit of a break, maybe like a 20-30 minute break in some of the heaviest snow. And so things have improved slightly. Now, if we look up, let's look up here and see if what we find near Holland. A lot of stream not available. That's not fun. Okay, let's see. Stream not available. Can't really make out much there. Wow, a lot of streams not available. Yeah, looks pretty similar. That's I-96 and 8th. That's in Ottawa County. So yeah, that's closer to Grand Rapids. The ones I really like to look at, everybody, are these plow cameras. So you can see all the plows that are out there, which is always kind of fun. And I apologize if I'm laggy. I might have to get off of this. I'm looking back and forth, and it looks like I'm pretty choppy. But these plows are pretty helpful to see. So they're plowing, it looks like a little bit of the shoulder there, or applying material, it says. I'm not always sure if those are fully accurate, but plowing and applying material, that's not along 94. That looks like, yeah, that's M40, north of Pawpaw, or right in Pawpaw, essentially. Here's 94. That looks like they're, of course, on a ramp or something. That's 94. So yeah, it's just, this is typical. Just everything's pretty much snowy, snow covered. That's the difference between this event and what we saw just a few days ago. Is this one's pretty much area wide. Everyone is going to be seeing very similar conditions. And from everyone that I know that has been out in the elements tonight, they said the roads were just very slick. Like a little bit of ice perhaps that built up underneath during the day, and now the snow picked up. So they're just really slippery out there. So just take it easy. It doesn't look like, let's see, crashes. Looks like a couple crashes here. Southbound M40, that is all lanes due to a crash. That's up in Allegan County. I'll have to go make sure that was reported about 40 minutes ago. But so far we haven't had any like major wrecks to report on like 94 or anything like that. This is M50, less familiar. So couple crashes. Let's see, crash on northbound M44. That's an east belt line. Not as major. This one seems to be the biggest deal because it's all lanes blocked in a crash up in Allegan County. So, and then it looks like possibly westbound 94, Sawyer exit 12, all lanes blocked. Yikes. So that's westbound. So that is shutting down westbound traffic headed for Chicago. I was just at that exit yesterday. Fun fact. Anyways, I'm going to stop sharing my screen because I feel like it is slowing the computer down remarkably. And hopefully I'm back to not being super choppy, but maybe we need a better computer back here. I might have to petition the powers that be. But yeah, there's our system snow. Again, if you have any snowfall reports, feel free to send them my way. The easiest way would be to, I guess, just Facebook message me. You can even shoot me an email. But if you look up my Facebook page, it's Will Haney WWMT. If you just search Will WWMT, you should be able to find it pretty easily. But yeah, shoot me any sort of snowfall reports. Preferably if you could differentiate like fresh snowfall from earlier on. I'm about to go measure before our 10 o'clock news, and we'll see how much we've accumulated throughout the day. My guess is at least like 3-4 inches so far, and we'll probably tally on some additional accums into the overnight. In fact, I can kind of show you all that really quickly. Now, I haven't edited this completely, but this is essentially from right now through early tomorrow. So this does not account for what's already out there. It looks like we could add on another, I guess this is a little weird. I don't know why it's starting at like 2.5 inches. That might be because we're hitting it in the middle of the hour. However, if you follow this little line right here, what I'm trying to show is we're going to go up at least another probably 2 to 4-ish inches between essentially right now. So again, imagine if this was starting at 0, everything was just shifted down. I think we're going to go up another maybe 2 to 4 inches into the overnight as far as additional accumulations. I'll have to go into that graphic and fine tune it and see if I can figure out what the little reasoning is behind that. But again, so we look at our snapshots for Sunday, starting off, I think, with some pretty steady snow area wide. System pulls out of here, and then we'll have lake effect favored for primarily west of 131. You can kind of see it there. So this is noon, 4, and by 8, starting to taper off, but lingering impacts probably closer to the lakeshore. I would include Kalamazoo and St. Joseph County in that, and we'll just have to see how conditions are and if they warrant additional advisories or warnings. That's going to be something the National Weather Service evaluates tomorrow morning and throughout the day. So yeah, stay safe. And again, without showing the 7-day, just in interest of time, more snow, more cold on the way in the week ahead. And really the next 7 to 10 days looks like a very conducive pattern to persistent cold and at least some opportunities for snow, as you see here. Another system will have to be watched late Monday into early Tuesday. That one's not nearly as significant. That's not going to be a true winter storm. I don't think we'll see a true winter storm Wednesday, Thursday either. These are going to be weaker little disturbances that might put down a few inches, but we could get to like winter weather advisory criteria. We'll just have to watch that for later in the week. So thanks for joining me on YouTube. This was fun. We're usually on Facebook, like I said, but I keep saying meteorologist because I'm so used to Colin Roos, our reporter, is out in the field tonight. He was out at the Galesburg Rest area, and that is off 94 if you're familiar, and it was looking pretty snowy. He said the roads were not great, and but he also said that people seem to be taking it pretty seriously and didn't see anyone flying by or driving too crazy. So honestly, around town I saw a lot of cars slipping and sliding. I did not witness this, but my mother-in-law was driving along Westnedge at, trying to think of the side street, Kilgore. That's right near like that car wash there, and what's that? Lee's Chicken. It's right on that corner. She was driving behind. It looked like a younger driver, she said, sadly, driving behind this guy. And he took the turn and just slid right into, I think she said, a pole or like hit the curb. So, yeah, just take it easy out there. Everyone has to kind of relearn to drive. I feel like these first few events, we got to get our chops driving in snow. But yeah, I mean, the big rules for me is just like drive slow and then drive even slower. You think you're driving slow enough, drive even slower. Like, honestly, most of driving in snow is just slowing way down and also giving a lot of distance between you and the car in front of you. That's an easy one to kind of like just slip into autopilot, where you're used to just kind of following a car at a normal distance. You should be like quadrupling that distance, right? So give yourself plenty of room, and yeah, stay safe out there. All right, I'll have the latest coming up at on the Arc at 10 and 11 over on Channel 3. Thanks for hopping on here on this live stream. If you like this sort of thing, let us know, and we'll keep doing this on YouTube and Facebook. And make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube if you have not already. So we'd appreciate that. All right, take care, everybody, and stay safe, hunkering down this weekend.